First band I was in high school, my senior year of high school, around '97. It was a pop punk band. We didn't care about being too original or anything, and that broke up because it got to the point where we were going to have to decide whether we wanted to be on a label and tour a lot. Brian McTernan, who recorded a Trial by Fire's new record, took an interest and wanted to put us out. Since it didn't work out, he said the next time you get something together, let me know and I'll record it. And it took me 3 years to sort of put all the pieces together, and they were all in my backyard. We were all friends, you know. Once it was all together, a few months later, we had 4 songs, and we called Brian up, and it's 3 years later, and I was like, hey, we want to hear what we sound like. Well, what's weird is that our bands were established in our own area, and J-Tree's, you know, got worldwide distribution, and not many people are going to know, you know, who we are. Most people probably have the impression that we're a band that came out of nowhere. It's our first band, but we're not. You know, we've all been through it for a long time. I mean, I've been in the hardcore scene since I was 13, 14, and I'm 23 now. I mean, I feel kind of old, you know, and it's weird, you know, that people kind of think that we're kind of new jacks at it. I don't think it creates expectations just because of that, because I don't think people know to expect anything from us. Every band that I've been told we sound like has been different. A flyer said one time, sounds like a cross between The Explosion and Rocket from the Crypt. And I was like, what? I don't know. And like, we've gotten all these, you know, comparisons, and no, I don't feel pressure from that, because J-Tree never put pressure on us. You know, they just really like the music. There may be like people who hear us and we're on J-Tree may make that connection, but to us, you know, the connection between us and Kid Dynamite is like, they're a great band, and they were probably influenced by a lot of the same people we're influenced by. I mean, Black Flag, Minor Threat, Bad Brains, Dag Nasty, so it makes sense that we might sound like each other. I think abrasive music's been lacking very much. Everything's kind of slick, you know, because I think the underground independent music has become a microcosm of the mainstream, and I don't think it sets itself apart very much. Most of the indie bands that are huge right now, like huge, I mean, if you consider Saves the Day an indie band, I mean those kind of bands, and I'm not slagging Saves the Day, I think they're really nice guys, but they don't really offer an alternative to what's going on in the mainstream. They're sort of an extension of it. Punk music, in the vein that it was set out to be played, there's definitely a resurgence happening right now, and it's not able to be seen on a wide scale, but people who are involved in it, you know, really see it. You know, the kids who are really involved in it really see it. Punk and hardcore is not what's popular in any music right now, but it's coming back because there are labels like J-Tree that support it. You know, because that's where they came from. We're fortunate to try to be a small part of it, to be a true alternative to what's going on in the mainstream. DC's weird. The climate of the scene within the modern hardcore scene is great. I mean, there's a normal separation, which is stupid, between like the punks, the hardcore kids, the skins, the da-da-da. There's all that, you know, stupid bickering. But as far as the old school guys, as in, you know, the people who were in those bands, there's not a lot of, if any, rapport between them and the modern bands, because I don't think, I mean, they don't want to be associated with it, and that's sort of upsetting, because what they did then, you know, has inspired us to do what we're doing now, and I don't know if it's intended to be this way. I don't know if it's intended as a slag on modern hardcore, but it feels like that. You sort of feel like abandoned kids. There's just no communication, you know. I think Richmond is much more healthier scene in that respect, because Avail is probably the equivalent to what Fugazi is in DC, and Avail takes young bands from Richmond out. Young bands from Richmond play with them when they play in Richmond. There's very much, they're very much in touch with what's going on there, and the older set of the DC crowd doesn't seem to have much interest in what's going on now. I mean, they've got their own thing going, and that's great, but it's sort of dysfunctional. Our thing is that if you do things the way we want to do it, and it's a consensus amongst the band, we'll do it. We like where we're at. You know, we like J-Tree a lot, and you know, we like doing what we're doing now. Since we don't really know what's ahead, can't really make that call right now, because, you know, I mean, we've seen what's happened to other bands, but we don't know the kind of decisions those bands made to get there. That's all ahead of us. We just want to make good records, and I want to write socially aware lyrics, help contribute to the resurgence of social consciousness in punk rock as well. I think punk's been its most effective when it was about social issues. That's when punk had its, you know, to me, that's when it had its greatest effect on me, you know, and that's when it was its most vital to me. And I don't care too much about writing love songs, you know. It's just, you know, this is not something I care about at all.